Dade Senior Center, and we have a special guest with us today. We have Cynthia Gibson from Georgia Legal Aid Service, and we're going to be talking about several things that have to do with seniors, or some cases just anybody, and we want everybody in Dade County to be able to know that there is help and that there is answers to some questions they have. But I want to welcome Cynthia. Thank you for coming and being with us. And our first topic, let's talk about food stamps, because some of my seniors have been telling me they've been getting extra food stamps during the coronavirus situation. And is that going to continue with extra food stamps, or is it just a temporary thing?
Well, it is temporary, and it will continue for as long as the public emergency is in effect. So when the emergency ends, that extra that they're getting will also end. But right now, everyone who was getting food stamps when the pandemic started is getting the maximum amount for the household size. So if you've got a household of one senior who is only getting the minimum of $16,
yes, ma'am,
they've been getting the $194 a month.
Oh, and that makes a big difference in their grocery bill.
I'm sure that's been a blessing, and yeah, that is going to continue. It is still going on, but you get two allotments. You get your regular on your regular date, and then you get the pandemic amount, the extra, at the end of the month.
Okay. Well, I've had some seniors express to me that at the end of the month, I still had some food stamp money. And I said, well, let me tell you what I think would be a good idea to do. Winter's coming on, and we do not know for sure what the grocery stores are going to have in stock, or if we're going to be where we can't get out. So I said, buy you up a whole bunch of cans of soup and vegetables and things that can be in a can, that the dates are good, and stock up, and then you can use your food stamp money, but you will also have a supply of good food for the winter. So that was my advice to them, and they seem to be very appreciative of getting extra food stamp money.
Well, especially because the prices have gone up.
Yes.
During this whole emergency.
And you know, I'm surprised when I go to the grocery store, because sometimes they'll be out of something that's really popular, and things that you wouldn't even think about. I know I buy powdered milk sometimes to cook with, and so when all of this started back in March and April, they had no powdered milk at the store, and I thought, that's unusual. But they have powdered milk in now, and us ladies that can our vegetables in the summer, it's so hard to get jar lids. I mean, that is almost impossible to find jar lids, and if you find them, you can't afford to buy them. They're so expensive. But so it'll be a really good idea for our seniors and the people that are on food stamps to be able to shop wisely, but use those food stamps. Do they ever expire?
Well, that was a question that occurred to me this morning, and so I got someone in my office to look that up for me. And so they don't really expire. If you don't use them for 12 months, they'll expire.
Oh, okay.
But as long as your account stays active and you're using it regularly, they're not going to expire. So you could save a little, because you know, when this is over, you're going to go back down to whatever you were getting before.
That's right. And I don't expect prices on food to go down anytime soon.
No, that's probably going to take longer.
It's going to take longer. So, but anyway, I want to encourage all of my seniors and the people in Dade County and the surrounding areas to use your food stamps wisely. And that's great that the government is giving them that. And I know that they appreciate it. The next thing we want to talk to, what is new on Medicaid?
Okay, so the newest thing on Medicaid just came out yesterday. And so for renewals, if you have Medicaid and you had a renewal coming up in September or October, the Department of Family and Children's Services has automatically renewed those benefits for another 6 months.
So they don't have to come back and renew them?
No. So that's what they've been doing since this started, is they've just been doing automatic renewals for 6 months.
So that would carry them into the springtime.
Right, so until March or April before they're going to be need to do a review again. Now, they have started doing reviews again for TANF and food stamps. So if you get one of those benefits, and a lot of grandparents are kind of the only ones that get TANF nowadays, you do need to do those reviews. You will get a notice in the mail, but if you don't get one and you're worried about it, if you know how to use a computer and get on Gateway, you can check your benefits on there. If not, you can call our benefits hotline if you are a senior and you receive Medicare. So if you're disabled and you get Medicare, they can help you there too. Can I give the number?
Yes, ma'am, please.
So our benefits hotline is 1-888-632-6332. And I'm sure your DFAC's office is still closed. They're not open to the public. Most of the offices around the state are not. So it's hard if you can't go online and do your renewal for seniors to do their renewals as they come due. But the benefits hotline can help you do it on the computer. And so that's a great resource for people.
Well, that's great to know. Okay, we've covered food stamps, we've covered Medicaid, and now let's talk about housing and rental property. And I know I've heard some people make the comment, we're protected and we can't be thrown out of our apartment because we're not paying our rent due to all of this. But what is the ruling on that?
Okay, so the last protection expired, and so the CDC actually issued this new protection that if you are unable to pay your rent due to COVID-19 and you're going to earn less than $99,000 in 2020 or $198,000 if you're filing jointly, if you were not required to file a tax return in 2019, and these are or, so any one of these things, or you received an economic impact payment, the $1,200 that people got. If you're unable to pay your full amount of your rent because your source of income has stopped, someone in your household is now earning less than they were before COVID, or you have to pay medical bills that are likely to exceed 7.5% of your income, that you're doing your best to pay as much of your rent as you can. And you're also applying for the assistance programs that are out there and trying to get assistance to pay your rent. Then you complete this declaration, and the CDC has a form that you have to fill out. You give it to your landlord, and if your landlord files an eviction against you, then you give it to the court. And the court is not, under this guideline, is not supposed to evict you. Problem is, this is going to end. Right now it only goes through December. So when this ends, that rent obligation doesn't go away. There's nothing that forgives the rent that you owe.
So if your rent is $500 a month and you do not make a payment in July, August, September, October, November, December, that's $3,000, or so to speak. You will still owe that $3,000. It doesn't erase it.
No, it does not. So I understand it's helpful to people, but it's also creating a big debt.
It's not a forgiveness.
No, that you are going to owe when this is over. And of course, many landlords, they're counting on that income too, using it to pay the mortgage they owe on the property or to make repairs and things like that. So they can call us for assistance if anybody runs into this issue. The court won't honor it, the landlord won't accept it, whatever. And I am saying tenants can call us. We do not represent the landlords because we are taking these cases. And there is some assistance out there to help you pay rent in certain circumstances.
Okay. And that would cover the landlord-tenants non-payment. What about public housing? Would it fall under the same category?
It would. I'm not aware of this really being an issue. But the other thing you have to remember is this only protects you for being evicted for non-payment of rent. You can be evicted for other reasons, for violating your lease, for damage to the unit. I mean, there's a lot of other things that you could be evicted for besides non-payment.
So they're not protected for anything except non-payment, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So you can't have someone move in with you if you're in public housing, then you're not allowed to do that and think you're protected.
Okay. I know this is a very hard time for some people. They're not used to having to stay in and stay close together and stay less than 6 foot apart and wear their mask, and their nerves get on edge, and families begin to have problems amongst themselves or friends amongst themselves. So let's talk about how this has affected people during this time of having to be quarantined or having to stay in real close. Are you finding that there's more problems going along with people?
We are seeing an increase in domestic violence cases. That didn't stop.
Right.
It sort of slowed down for a while when this first started, because people had nowhere to go. What were you going to do? You didn't really feel like you had a choice. But that is increasing now, and we are seeing more cases. And we often, of course, see cases with children or grandchildren who have moved in with their older relatives who have income from Social Security, and sometimes that just ends up being a bad situation, and you end up with a senior who's afraid in their own home. And sometimes people don't know that they actually can get a protective order in that type of situation. So I want your seniors to know, if you're in that situation, please reach out, because you can get help.
Okay, that's good to know. What about identity theft? Is it really going strong right now?
We haven't had, I think in the past 6 months, we've had maybe one call about that issue. So it's not something that we're seeing. Of course, the scammers.
Oh, yes.
The scammers have used COVID-19 as a new way to create new scams. And so there's all the typical scams, just now they're for COVID-19.
Right.
There's this fund that's going to help you, give you free money. Of course, you've got to pay this little fee,
Right.
And so they're also donation scams, don't you want to donate to help? So the best thing to do is to check the Better Business Bureau before you consider donating or giving money to anyone. And the Better Business Bureau is really pretty good at being current.
Yes, they are.
And if you don't have a computer and you can't check it, call up a friend or somebody and get them to look it up for you.
I know during this election time, and I'm not speaking on politics, but during this election time, I get so tired of this recording calling my house and wanting to know, is Roy there? And I've tried everything. I've told them, yes, Roy's here. Let me go get Roy for you. And they'll say, okay, we'll wait. I said, by the way, Roy's my cat. And then last night about 8:30, they called. It was the same recording. Want to speak to Roy. And I said, how many more times are you going to call us? People get tired of getting all of those crank calls.
I don't have a home phone, but I get them on my cell phone. I get text.
Yes.
Constantly. Most of the spam texts I'm getting are political. It drives me crazy because it's completely illegal.
Yes.
But the FTC is working on a solution for this. But the best solution I had before this started is there's a setting on your phone where you can block every call that is not in your contacts list. Block them all. That worked great until I started having to use my cell phone for work purposes. So I had to undo that. But for seniors, they can still leave a message, which is annoying too, but it is a way to block that, at least on a cell phone. I don't know about your call for Roy.
I mean, this has been going on for about 3 or 4 months, and it's several times a week. And I wish they'd change it to somebody besides Roy.
You would think they'd be smart enough to start asking for someone else.
Right, you'd think they would be. Okay, we've not spoken about wills, and you know, wills are something that's very important for everyone, but especially for seniors. You know, some of them do not have their decisions made of what they want to do with their items at their death, or who's going to be responsible for it. So what is your talk on wills today?
Well, for the most part, the people who need a will are going to be those who have real property, which is a house, land, that they do not want it to go to who it's going to go to under the law. Now, a lot of people think that if you're married and you own a house but it's only in one person's name and you die, it's automatically going to go to your spouse. But that's not true. Your spouse will inherit a portion, but then it also goes to your children, which can sometimes cause problems.
Yes.
So if you have property, you should have a will. Now, I own property. My husband and I own it jointly with right of survivorship, which is pretty common. So if you own it that way, well, it's not going to pass under your will. It's going to pass directly to the other owner. That's it. All I need is a death certificate and I get a new deed. So it really varies by your specific circumstances. I know a lot of people want to do a will to say, you know, I want my dining room table to go to Sally, and I want my coin collection to go to Jim. Georgia Legal Services does not do wills with that type of thing, but what I recommend is that you just keep a written document of what you want for that type of personal property and who you want to have it. And, you know, there's no reason to go through probate for personal property. And so you can just say who you want it and name someone you trust who will carry out your wishes. But that's the simplest way to deal with personal property. You know, bank accounts, name a beneficiary.
Retirements do also.
Yeah, you name a beneficiary on your retirement accounts. Your life insurance has a beneficiary. So the only thing that really needs to pass through a will is going to be real property where there's not a joint owner with right of survivorship.
Okay, you said in your case you were married and your husband has a car and you have a car and you were to pass away. Does he automatically get your car because it's in your name only?
Well, I didn't think about cars, but there is a form you can fill out through the Department of Motor Vehicles to deal with a vehicle, if that's all the property there is to be disposed of.
After the death?
Yes, there is a form after the death that you can fill out.
Okay, so then children or nephews or nieces, they couldn't come in and say, oh,
No.
that was my uncle's car and I want part of it?
No.
Okay.
No. Because the spouse is going to be the first line relative.
Okay.
Okay, and then next would come children. Now, the thing is with real property, it does pass. You know, and I suppose a child could fight a surviving parent over a vehicle. I haven't usually seen that. That's usually not what they're fighting. It's usually the house that they want, because that's the more valuable thing. But you can also own your cars in both names. You know, you don't have to put it in just one name. I mean, ours are individual now. So that is an issue with the car, but there is a form.
That would be acceptable by the courts after the death of that person?
Yes. Well, you don't even have to go through the court. It's through the DMV.
Okay, but after the death of that person, if you don't have that form filled out in advance, it's after
Yes.
their death, you can still fill out that form?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So, if you got a big diamond ring, you better decide who's gonna get that diamond ring ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem I have is you go through the formalities and you do a will, and then you change your mind.
Yes, you get mad at that person.
Or that person dies.
Yes.
Or something happens and you just change your mind. And we can't just keep redoing wills for those types of, I mean, I understand that that's human nature, it happens. But you're better off to not have a will that's locking you into this when it's pretty common for people to change their mind, especially about personal property type things.
Can you hand write down a codicil to your will?
You cannot.
Are they acceptable anymore?
Nobody does codicils anymore because everything's electronic and we do it on a computer and it's just as easy to do new will versus a codicil. So I would say no, you can do a completely handwritten will, has to be completely handwritten, still has to be witnessed and notarized, but you can do a completely handwritten will in Georgia. I don't see it, but it is possible.
Because sometimes some of the seniors do not have finances to go to an attorney, because it's not that real cheap. I mean, you could get $200 to $300 real easy in doing a will, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I would say that the common charge is closer to $500 for a simple will now.
And so, but they can hand write it out and then have it witnessed and notarized, and it would be legal.
They can. I don't necessarily recommend it because if you don't use the right language, you could have unintended consequences. We do wills where someone has a need for a will and can't afford the $500.
I understand.
So we do consider those cases if they have real property. We don't do them just for personal.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm sure that several of my seniors have expressed that before to me, that, you know, they need to get their final business straight, straight with everything. Getting back on Medicare or Medicaid, I guess it would be under Medicaid. You can only have a certain amount of money to qualify for Medicaid. But if you've got more money than that qualification, is it legal to go ahead and pre-plan your funeral and pay your funeral expenses to bring your amount down?
Yes, you can, because there's a burial exclusion, and what you're talking about, I'm guessing, is going to be long-term care Medicaid.
Yes.
And so yes, there is a burial exclusion. You can, that's one of the things you're allowed to do, is to take that money and to prepay for your funeral. It just has to be non-revocable, so you can't change your mind and get the money back. But you can do that for you and your spouse, so that can eat up $20,000 right there.
Yes.
But yeah, that is completely legal to do.
Because I've heard seniors make the comment, well, if I have to go to long-term health care, they'll get my house, and I said, you need to check into the different sources to make sure what you can have done before.
Well, they don't take your house.
I know that.
But what happens is there's a 5-year look-back period. So sometimes seniors, they want that house to go to their children or their whoever, and so they want to transfer it to them, and you can do that. That's perfectly legal. But you got to hope that 5 years pass before you need long-term care, because otherwise there's going to be a penalty involved, and good luck getting that house back. But the other risk is when you transfer your house, you're trusting whoever you're transferring it to. And sometimes people don't end up being trustworthy. I've seen where the people the children that the house was transferred to took out a mortgage on the house. And now that you're no longer an owner, the senior didn't even know about it.
Right.
And so they took out this money, and I think it was with the best of intentions. They fully intended to pay the mortgage every month, but then something happened, and they couldn't pay it. And next thing you know, this senior's house that she's lived in for probably 50 years is getting foreclosed on, and she's going to be kicked out. And she has no idea what's going on. So, I mean, there are bad things that happen, and sometimes with the best of intentions. So, it's better if you're gonna transfer your house to retain a life estate, because then you have to be notified about what's going on with your property. But even then, defects assigns a ridiculous value to the life estate in determining upon your passing, the property passes to whoever the remainder heir is, but defects determines what the value of that life estate was. And what they want is they want the estate to pay back out of the senior's resources and assets for the care they received. So it's not unreasonable, but a lot of people don't like that outcome because it's new. It didn't used to be that way.
Okay, what about reverse mortgages? I hear lots of advertisement on TV about that.
They are, and they can be a good thing in that they allow a senior who's got a lot of equity, and that's their only real resource, is their home, to draw the equity out of their home. To help them meet their current living expenses. So they can be a good thing. They are going to count as income. If you do that and you apply for any benefit, the amount you're getting will count as income. And then upon the senior's death, then the house is going to go to the bank, unless somebody wants to come in and pay off all that money that the senior drew out. Now, you know banks are making money, okay?
They're not in there because they like you.
No, no, it's a business. And so they are making money on it. You would make more money if you sold your house and kept that equity, all of the equity, because they're not going to give you all. They're going to keep themselves a nice cushion there. But they can be an option for a senior who really wants to stay in place, and that's the only option.
I've also read, and I may have misunderstood, or it may have changed, but we'll just say if a senior did a reverse mortgage on their house with a bank, and then we'll say a year down the road, they had to go into a nursing home, and they leave their house. Is there a ruling on how many days they have to be away from their house before the bank can foreclose on it and sell it?
I don't know. That's a specific, I don't know the answer to that, I'm sorry.
I had read if they leave their house for maybe approximately 30 to 60 days, that there is a question whether or not they can be foreclosed on. And so that might be something that they need to ask before they go into that.
Oh, I agree, because it shouldn't be, because, you know, as you get older, and you end up in the hospital for a few weeks, and then you go to rehab for a few, and you could definitely be absent from your home for longer than that with every intention of returning.
Yes.
And there were some issues in the past with people took out reverse mortgages and then they would die and the spouse was still in the home. And so there have been some changes with that. I'm sorry I didn't review that before I came today.
And I just thought about that, and you know, but I would advise any senior or anybody before they take out a reverse mortgage to look into all the facts and all the rulings.
And you should compare some products too. You know, don't just go with the bank you've banked with for 30 years, thinking that they're going to do what's best for you.
Because not everybody has you at heart.
No, I mean, it's a for-profit business.
It is. It really is. Well, last night I was on the internet and searching out, and there's a possibility, now this has been said, a possibility for months, that there may be a second stimulus check. And they are maybe going to have some further discussion this week, and maybe by the end of this week there may be a decision. Have you heard any updates on that?
I have not. I would be very surprised if we have a second. I mean, I suppose it could happen. I just think with the election so close and the House and Senate so far apart, that there's just no way they're going to agree on anything prior to the election.
And I think if they're going to make any decision, they'll have to make it this week, because the congressmen are going back to their states and do some political campaigning. And so they will not be in Washington. So that possibility, it may be just something that's going to die in the water.
But there was something I brought that has to do with the prior stimulus payment, okay? So if you have anyone that didn't get their payment, the IRS is sending out letters to 9 million Americans who did not get their payment.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so the deadline to register is October 15th. And so you go to irs.gov to register if you did not get your $1,200 payment. And also some people who get benefits didn't get their benefit for their minor children. But they will get it in 2021 when they file their 2020 taxes. But if you didn't get it, there's still time to figure out why and to get that payment.
That's good to know. No one has shared with me that they didn't get one, but I'm sure there is people that have not. Have you got any other comments or any other that you would like to add to this?
Well, the only thing is I know that they're starting to open up nursing homes again,
Yes.
and I think this has been such a horrific event for nursing home residents and their families because you can't visit them. And so they are starting to open them up again, so I would just check with your local facility to find out when you can get back.
I was just speaking before you came in to our local nursing home in Dade County, and we were talking about trying to do something for Christmas for the patients there, make some kind of gift bags for them. And she shared with me this is going to be a really hard year for them with Christmas because lots of the families cannot right now and to go in to see them, haven't been able to go in and see them for months. And of course, we do not know what October, November, and December holds for us. So this is really having a hardship on the patients at the nursing home. So we as Dade Senior Center, we want to do some special little bags to share with some of the people at the nursing home, and that's what we were talking about. But some of the people in the nursing home do not realize why their families can't come in, and they think they've just been left alone, and it is so hard on them. So it's kind of hard for the patients to go and just look out the window and see their son or daughter or grandchildren waving at them through the window. They don't understand, and it's so hard. But well, thank you so much for coming. I'm hoping this is going to be a help to our seniors and the people in Dade County. And we just look forward to trying to do this again sometime.
Sure.
But thank you so much for your information. Thank you so much for everyone that's watching our video today. And
can I give our number?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if there's something you've heard about today that you think, oh, I need help with that, please call us at 833-GLSP-LAW, and that is 457-7529.
And if they lose that number or don't get it, give me a call. I will be more than happy to pass it on to them. They can call me at 706-657-7434. And we will just be happy to help them any way we can. We appreciate all the people in Dade County that have connections with our senior center. And we appreciate Georgia Legal Aid's coming today. Thank you so much for your kindness and being here with us. So until we have another session, thank you for tuning in.